So if I had a penny for each time I've been asked by you guys to review the Sennheiser CX400 BT on this channel, I'll probably be richer than Elon, the kid who sells lemonade at the end of my street. Who do you think I was talking about? But anyways, just when I thought I could retire early on spare change alone, Sennheiser, in their infinite knowledge and wisdom, felt an upgrade was already in order, and this is the result of their efforts, the CX True Wireless, which bumps up parts of the 400BT that were either lacking or aging, such as stronger battery life now, Bluetooth 5.2, while at the same time, in an unusual turn, dropped the asking price by $70 whole than before. So the question is, did they mess up a successful formula with these changes, or are we in for a treat? Let's find out after these messages, and by the way, subscribe and like if you're enjoying this so far. Let's do it right over there. Well, here it is, the refreshingly named CX True Wireless. I just love the name, it's so easy to memorize. And it comes in two different colors. There's black as well as this one, white, but either one you choose will set you back $130 nonetheless. What you get specs-wise is IPX4 water resistance, which is better than 0 in the 400BT, and now instead of Bluetooth 5.0, you get 5.2 on board with SBC, AAC, as well as regular aptX. In terms of codecs, it's identical with the previous model though, just in case you're wondering. Sennheiser now brags 9 hours of listening time for the buds at 50% volume. It was 7 hours before, but during my time of testing, I averaged around 8.8 hours at 65% volume, so that's pretty much on point when you calculate it out. And the case therefore adds roughly around 17.6 hours on top of that. Now, let's look at the case up close here. This thing is very nice and compact. I really like it, especially when you consider the relative bulkiness of the earbuds. There's no wasted space altogether, just taken up by the battery cell, and that's pretty much it. It's kind of bland looking, but I think it's probably more so and more monolithic if you get the black version. There's a single LED light right at the front here, and there's a USB-C charging port. There's no Qi charging, by the way, unfortunately. And there's a slight hint of shiny plastic or polished plastics in the finger groove here that visually bisects the unit as well. Hey, check this out. We have a locking lid right here, so that means when you apply any kind of torque, it stays open. That rattle you're hearing is actually not from the lid. It's this slightly loose fitting earbuds in a cavity. And you probably know what that means by now, but we'll find out in a second. There's a large magnet right here for the lid, and it's covered by a soft PU material, so when you close it, it has this nice dampened feeling. There's a Sennheiser logo at the top here and the Sennheiser name on the inside. And the cavity itself is nice and shallow, easy to keep clean and stay clean. There are two charging pins right there. There's a nub right there that's actually a alignment nub, so that matches with the earbud, so when you pop this back in, it aligns straight up like that. Now, the build quality on this thing over on the case and everything is just well executed. I'll tell you what, the chamfers are nice and well-rounded, no exposed gluing, no creaks whatsoever. It's really what you expect for the price. Now, as you can see, let me pop this earbud back in. It stands tall, the earbuds stand tall and proud where they sit in the case, right? And when you combine this height with the decently grippy plastics that are used here, both for the buds and the case, it makes it that much easier to remove and grip, in my opinion, especially if your hands are sweaty or greasy. And again, the build quality on the buds are nice and tight, really well made, very similar to the case. And again, the polycarbonate used here has a high quality feel, and I think will resist scratches much better. And the weight per earbud, by the way, is 6 grams per bud, and it really feels good in the ear, really nice and comfortable. And by the way, I really like this design element right here, this seam, or the notch in the seam, manufacturing seam. It matches that of the case, so it's a very conscious design choice right there, and it hides the manufacturing line, so that's pretty darn cool in my opinion. So the design of the CX mirrors that of its predecessor, the 400BT, as well as the Reason Momentum True Wireless 2. So if you're a fan of this Sennheiser design language, you'll be right at home. But otherwise, you might want to look somewhere else if you're not a fan of this tall dome-like shape. But anyways, there are 3 microphones on board, 2 that handles phone calls, 1 right here and 1 at the bottom. And this third one, according to the literature, it says is for acoustic optimization. But if any of you know, even Sennheiser, if any of you know what that does, I've read everywhere and couldn't find anything on what it does. Let me know in the comments down below what it is exactly. There are 2 charging connectors right there, and here's the alignment nub that we talked about that matches with the case earlier. The LED status light is right there, and as you can see, there is no wear detection window anywhere. So for this price, I was hoping to see it. Touch controls at the front here. There's the faint Sennheiser logo right there. And the controls accept single, double, triple, as well as hold commands, and they're not customizable. What is up with that? And even though the website here, as you can see, the screenshot says it does, Maybe Sennheiser is planning for it further down the line, I'm not sure. And in the business end of things, there's a 7mm true response driver handling all the grunt work, and sound is ported through this decently short sound channel right there. But I want to say a quick word about the ear tips. This is by far the quickest installation and removal process I've ever experienced on any ear tips. Let me show you this. I've taken it off, and if you hear the click, it is done. You hear that? That's so quick and fast, and the material is nice and soft too. I really love these ear tips and how it's implemented here. In terms of protection from gunk and earwax and such, there's this crosshatch thing on the ear tip itself, and also another mesh that it seems like an afterthought, like it's stuffed in here, very similar to the one I saw on the Momentum True Wireless 2. Like they just took a little piece of foam and stuck it in there with a tweezer and call it a day. And the sound, by the way, can be controlled in the Sennheiser Smart Control app. And what is kind of sad though, look at this. It has a sparse looking 3-band EQ. I mean, just look at it. What is up with that? Coming from Sennheiser, at least a 5 or a 7 band would have been nice. And another quirk I found is that the bass boost is only usable in the neutral and movie modes. I'm not sure what the decision is. You can't use it in podcast or anything, but it is what it is there. By the way, another couple features that you can also find, that you'll find on these earbuds, is auto power off, as well as a solid 2-year warranty. Not bad for $130. Now, let's put these earbuds back in the case and let's do the shake test. I'll keep the lid open here. And yeah, a little bit weak on the earbud side, so thumbs down on the earbuds and thumbs up on the lid strength. Right there, it stayed open. Alright guys, we're outside doing the Bluetooth range test, and I have some 9 by Adeline playing on Deezer here in high fidelity. And I'm gonna put the phone at the end of my deck, and what we're gonna do is walk from the back of my house towards the side and pass line of sight to see when these things start tapping out from each other. So these earbuds have Bluetooth 5.2 as we mentioned earlier, so it should last around 30 to 33 feet. There in the messy, blurry background there is my phone, and where I'm standing is around 25 feet. So we're kind of close to the cutoff point right here, so let's see how this thing does. Yep, I'm already getting a buzzing sound right around 33 feet, so it's right on cue. But let's keep walking until I hear a disconnect tone just for kicks. How are you guys doing? It's a nice day out. No connection. There you go. The British lady just said it. So it's around 42, 43 feet. So not too bad for what it's worth. I'm going to keep walking until we get a reconnection tone and see if these things continue playing. Oddly, I'm not hearing anything yet. Ooh, exposure issues. I'm not hearing anything yet, so that's kind of odd. But anyways, you can see the fit of these in my ears. They do protrude out about 2 to 3 millimeters, but I love the comfort of them. They're very, very secure and very light in my ear canal. I'm not getting any kind of reconnection. Let me check my phone real quick and see what's going on. So this is a weird behavior, and I've gone back and tested this a couple more times now, and it's doing the same thing each time. So when I go out of range and come back, these earbuds don't reconnect with my phone. I have to manually go back in and tap connect, which is kind of a weird thing. Maybe the Sennheisers don't like my Pixel, or vice versa, or maybe it is some issue that you should be aware of, but I thought I'll mention it. And some of you can chime in if who've owned these. Maybe you've noticed the same thing. Alright, let me take you down to the road right now to get some sound samples to see how these CXs handle themselves during Bluetooth phone calls. So there's a bunch of traffic passing through right now, and it'll give you a better impression of how noise suppression works, my voice quality, and you can hear for yourself the intonation is not bad. Overall, I'll call this performance-wise about mid-pack. I did notice 3 different issues. A small one, but I thought I'll just mention it anyway. So the first one is if these earbuds are exposed to really loud constant noises like an air brake on a truck that passes through right here, it would just give up the ghost. It hits its limits, the algorithm or whatever it is. And secondly, as like traffic passes through, you can probably hear this. When the noise suppression is working, it does cut off 1 or 2 words mid-sentence from time to time, not all the time. It does crackle a little bit too. And also the other thing too you probably notice is my voice peaks very easily through the microphone. So when you're using these, I would suggest using this or talking at a regular volume. So these are probably not good earbuds to use, like say at the Olympics and you just want a gold and you're talking to your mom. And yeah, just don't yell, because you probably have to sell your gold medal to buy her a new hearing aid. It's that bad. Wind resistance, not bad. It gets in the ear, but your hearers don't hear it. So overall, it's not bad from Sennheiser's part. Maybe next time you can upgrade it to like 3 mics per side or something with slightly better algorithm. But overall, for the price, nah, not too bad. I would say not too bad. how is the sound quality on these CXs, you may ask? Well, after using these for a few weeks now, I'm still getting the vibes from my review of the Momentum True Wireless 2. You can check it out up here. And the same impressions apply. The CX has nice full sound and smooth separation, and it also excels in almost all genres, especially pop and vocals. And this thing has a particularly healthy 5Hz sub bassline, something that you can feel. So when you combine all of that, listening to songs like Your Power by Billie Eilish with its low bass and flute accompaniment, and not to mention her sweet voice whispering in my ears, is quite engaging with these earbuds.
And you swear you didn't know. No wonder why you didn't ask.
But on the flip side, the CX doesn't have strong enough amplification, and it also lacks the ultimate say in clarity, I think. And what I mean by this is it feels, I don't know, muffled is not the word, but I think the word that I'm looking for is restricted more like, because one analogy that I can think of is if you're a vocalist, they say you should emphasize your vowels when singing, otherwise your voice won't overcome the instruments or the backing instruments. The sound from the CX reminds me of that effect when you don't emphasize your vowels. My second favorite thing about these earbuds is if you're ever involved in a ear tip removal install shootout contest with your friends among other earbuds, the CX will win you gold every single time. Yeah, you better believe it. It's like the quickest ear tip in the West, or East, or North, or South. Alright, here are some of the downers that I discovered during my time with these. And first of all is if you have small ears, you may find the CX either too bulky aesthetically like this, or worse still, too uncomfortable or unstable to use for long durations of time. Now, I didn't experience any of these problems even though they're pretty much on the verge of being too big for me. But if my ears were any smaller, I can only imagine it would get pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. Even though this improves on the 400BT, which was successful in its own right in terms of sales and sound quality and all that, you can't get away from the fact that the CX and the 400BT are a pretty basic set of earbuds. Plus, when you compare that fact with the competition that has grown and matured and improved over the past couple of years, yeah, these things stick out like a sore thumb, and not in a good way either. And sure, you can argue that the CX sounds good and that's its forte, but I also wish that it had a higher IP rating, multi-point Bluetooth connection, better phone call quality, and customizable controls. I think having all that would have easily kept the competition at bay. That said, if Sennheiser and its fans are adamant about maintaining this formula of building a sound-centric device without a more robust feature set, nothing wrong with that really, then I think they should really consider dropping the price, because as it is, $130 just ain't right. If this was like $90 out the block, it would have been much easier to swallow. So I had a blast listening to these. Sennheiser with the CXs have nailed the listening experience in my opinion, and it kind of straddles between warm and technical, which I really like. Now, at the same time, similar earbuds like the Soundcore Liberty 2 Pro have more amplification and seem to also have a livelier sound floor. But the CX fights back with a lower bass hit and a slightly stronger mid-range, as well as a more centralized soundstage, so the voices are a little bit more in the middle that some of you may prefer. Now, with all its strengths and the few flaws that it has, because I'm making this video in August of 2021, I just can't ignore the much cheaper, more impressively spec Nothing Year 1. Remember, that costs $30 less than the CX, add things like active noise cancellation and wireless charging among other things. The great unknown here is the sound quality, though I strongly suspect that the CX will win in this area, but it'll be close, so that's something to consider. So with all that said, I want to give the Sennheiser CX True Wireless a GearUP score of 8 out of 10. And this is how I broke it down to get to the final score. If you have any questions of how I got there, feel free to comment down below. Well, that's it guys, and please, if you'd like to see more videos from me, from GearUP, please subscribe, mash and kill the button down below, and also turn on the bell notification icon so you know whenever I publish new videos. And also, if you'd like to go further in your support, you can check out my Patreon page down here where you can buy me a cup of joe or bubble tea or whatever you like. And yes, thumbs up if you like this video and comment nicely down below, it's a responsible thing to do. And thumbs down. Thumbs down to athletic onesies used by the male athletes like the ones we've seen in the Olympics. Yeah, there's practically nothing between the outside air and their twigs and berries, for crying out loud. It just flops around with every step and it's really bad guys. I have to cover my kids' eyes whenever they do slow-mo shots. I just can't erase that. But really, at the end of the day, it's not about the outfits, it's more like I'm insecure as an Asian. Every time I look at a 6-foot athlete, I'm like, man, I just can't compare there. That's all I got, guys. Remember to pay it forward with the blessings that you have, and have a great weekend, guys. And I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out.